to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
Trump got COVID-19, but that was actually just a cover for him to get out of D.C. for a little bit and go out on a battleship and try the Clintons.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was a cover to make all that happen. So it's like there again, I mean, our president can't even get COVID-19, which is which is a lot of people are getting. It's a pandemic. Thankfully, it's not as bad as we thought it was in February, which is great, but tons of people are getting sick, and lots of people are dying. Let's not pass over that. So our president gets it because a lot of people are getting it, and even then, that's not what happened. Like, there's this whole other thing. That's the thing that I worry. I guess that's what concerns me is this alternate reality that's now going on. There's an very alternate reality where you just kind of fit what is happening into this alternate reality, and then when it doesn't come true, when it doesn't shake out, then you just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And it does seem prevalent in Christian circles. I also saw a stat, I think, from the Dispatch or something. I feel like David French had shared something on this, where it is more common in circles that are not college educated. And apparently, according to the Intercept article there, it's a little bit more common, or has become more common with moms.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I guess gets a little concerning for me is I don't really have issue with thoughts on there being sex slavery happening in America, and it's too common. We need to do something about it. I don't have issue with there being corruption in government. We should do something about it. I don't even have issue with there's people on the left that are corrupt, and we need to do something about it. Although I think there's also people on the right that the same could be said about. I don't really have issue with any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even really have issue if you want to call your issues with all of these things. If you want to call it Q, that's totally fine. But I mean, I have seen firsthand multiple accounts where it starts there and it gets. Everyone's supposed to do their research, right? So everyone's supposed to do your research. This is very, very common. You can't talk to a Q person without them saying, do your research.
Yep.
You're going to hear that 3 or 4 times in the course of the conversation.
Do your research.
So do your research. Well, when everyone starts to do
your
research,
own research.
Do your own research. You know what that takes, Patrick? That takes a lot of time. It takes a crap ton of time. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of time. And you're going to use Google, but then you also need to do Duck or whatever, or DuckDuckGo, and you have to do all these different things. And you have to watch multiple hour-and-a-half documentaries and things like that. So, I mean, I'm a libertarian a little bit like you. So, I mean, I guess people can sort of use their time as they want. It just, when you start to put that amount of time into this, then what happens is you sort of get into this echo chamber of, I feel like some of these people are starting to dip into a little bit of an alternate reality. And no offense to the people that are listening to this, and believe some of this stuff, but that's when you start to think John F. Kennedy is not dead. He's coming back 21, 22 years later. Somehow he knew that America would be in this shape in 2020, that Trump would be president. He would be running for re-election. I mean, think about this. If Trump to be president at all, that could have happened in 2012. It could have happened in 2020 for the first time. How would JFK Jr. know that in 2020 Trump would not only be president, running for the president, but he'd be on a second term?
Right.
That's insane. That's absurd. Okay. Now, I can't necessarily speak to whether the guy's actually dead or not, although he crashed his plane into the ocean. They found 3 bodies, and they identified all 3 bodies.
Right.
That's a fact. Okay. So, but JFK is not actually dead. Kayla McEnany, is that the Trump's press secretary?
Oh, yeah. McEnany.
Kayla McEnany is actually not her. It's actually someone else. So that's not a real, like, it's a real person, but it's not her. Like it's a fake person. Kaylee McEnany, who's apparently wicked sharp, by the way. I mean, she seems to be doing a killer job for the most part. The earth is not round. It's flat. Michelle Obama is actually a man. She's not a lady. And because Obama called her Michael a couple of times by accident, and she has dimples when she smiles that match some other man's dimples when he smiled, and there was something about an elbow. I mean, dude, come on. What is going on?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the going back to the mid 80s or so when 88 Reasons Why Jesus was coming back in 1988. And was that Jack Van Imp? I'm not sure, but there
I
was
know who you mean. I don't remember the name.
That kind of thinking was really prominent in, I would say Christian circles, at least the conservative fundamentalist Christian circles. And when things didn't happen, it's like you just fill new things in, just new things just come into the narrative, and then you just you keep changing it to fit what's happening, but you keep the narrative alive, and somehow that it gets a life of its own. And you might say, well, that's kind of harmless or whatever. It's like, no, I don't think it's harmless if you live your life in such a way that you're not everything that you could be because you think that it's not worth being who you need to be because, Jesus is coming back tomorrow. It's all going to burn anyway. Then it's like, no, that's actually, well, that's not good. That's a negative. That's a bad outcome, right? If you're living your life that way. And I would say that the risk is also there for, actually, no, I mean, here's why I care about this is we're at a really important time in history where if you look back and you see, from the age of enlightenment, you see, science emerge, scientific thought, our ability to observe and measure physical reality and come up with all kinds of facts, and you see the transformation that brought on in the human psyche, and you see the technological power that has come about as a result of that, and you see where we are, and you think about where we need to go and where we're likely to go in light of things like Moore's law, which says that processing power doubles every. Help me out.
Not sure, but it's
Moore's law. It says it keeps growing. It doubles every 20.
What is Moore's law?
Moor. Doubles about every 2. Processing power doubles about every 2 years. So, well, you combine that with AI, and all of that. It's like we're at a place in history where the future. Well, we get to shape the future, right? And so the future, with all of the technological prowess and all of our enlightenment and all of that, we can either use that to shape the world for good. We can, as God's people, as Jesus followers, we can use all of that in the service of the kingdom, or we can go further down the road of polarity, highly polarized, left versus right, us versus them.
Yeah.
We can go down that route. And if you want to go down that road, it's like, you've got increasing amounts of tools at your disposal to make things truly hellish. Mm-hmm. And I don't recommend it. And so the reason I care about all of this is I want people to, I would love if more Jesus followers would wake up to the nature of the kingdom, the nature of the call of the gospel to, to bring heaven to earth by living out, bringing the spirit of the founder, making it manifest in your life each day through enemy love and self-sacrifice and death and rebirth. And it's like, that's a different message than is being heard today in a lot of places.
Okay, so do you think that if that is our mindset, which it should be, then we wouldn't get so caught up in when something pops out about Wayfair where we just jump all over it and spend 10 hours researching Wayfair? Do you feel like that has a practical implication at that level?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, the real things that we could be doing to make the world better, the real, and there are people doing amazing work rescuing children from sex slavery, and there are people doing work trying to eliminate corruption from government, not doing a very good job of it maybe, but it's like there are important things to do, but we're not going to be busy doing them if we think that the answer to all of that is found in the reelection of Donald Trump exclusively, right? Mm-hmm. Things like prison reform or things like the cleaning up the deep state, the bureaucracy. It's like if you became president tomorrow and you had every tool at your disposal, where would you start cleaning out the deep state?
Yeah.
It's incredibly complicated. The amount of competing value systems and, commitments and all of that are present at that level of government. Like if you shut this program down, these people are going to squawk, and then you got to it's like, it's a web that's endlessly complex. And to know what to value from that and what to act on first and to have the clarity to go act on it and remove the people who are actually doing the bad things and really clean up the organization all the way down to the core and have the values that it ought to have made, drive them deep down into the organization. That takes real leadership, real commitment, real selflessness, real servant leadership, real love. And it doesn't happen when you're obsessed about Q.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well said.
And that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying that about that.